I got to tour a frozen drink factory company, kind of like Slushy or Icy, but it was a different brand. I don't know if I'm supposed to say what the brand was, but there was one really small thing that happened that made me kind of rethink how we interact with our clients. And I want to share that with you in this video. First, a quick note on the video quality. I am having the hardest time in the world today getting my cameras and microphones and everything to work the way it's supposed to. So I am just using the built-in camera on the laptop like it's 1997, and the video quality looks right about from that time period. Maybe I can do some editing and get the quality a little bit better, but I figure right now the most important thing to me is consistency. I just want to get the videos out. I don't want to skip just because I was having tech issues. So I apologize for the quality, but I refuse to relent on getting 2 videos per week out this year. Okay, so on to the topic. This tour that we did was really cool. It was with this group that I was in, and is one of these frozen drink companies like Slushy or Icy. And they supply the machines and the drink to the businesses like convenience stores and gas stations. And then you go in as the customer and you buy your drink, and then the gas station makes money. Their business model is really, really cool. We got to meet the CEO, and he was like very magnanimous and intelligent and knew a lot about the business. It was an awesome experience, but there was like one small thing that happened that I was just lucky enough to notice, and it stuck with me ever since then. Towards the end of the tour of the facility, before he took us into like the corporate offices where he sat us down and did this presentation, he had this staging area where they had all these different machines with every flavor that they offer and these little sample cups. And he told us, go in and take a cup and taste whatever you want to taste. And it was this pretty small room, and there was a lot of us in there, so it got crowded really quickly. So for the most part, everyone kind of got their little cup and tried one thing. Maybe they tried a second thing, and then they tried to like shuffle out, and everyone's going different directions. It was hot. It was uncomfortable. The drinks were delicious. Everything was great, except it just wasn't a big room. And I was actually on my way out of the room, and I was like at the exit, and the CEO's assistant, the guy who was with us the whole time, I heard him say something like, hey, y'all take these big souvenir cups and get as much as you want. We set all this up for you and we don't want it to go to waste. Or something like, maybe he said, we spent all this time getting this set up for y'all, so we want you to enjoy it. And what struck me is that whenever we went into the room, we didn't even realize that they had set it up for us. We thought that this room was just always set up and they used it as a place to kind of like, I don't know, I guess just stage their machines or do tours or whatever. But apparently they had thought out this whole thing. They thought out like how many cups they might need, where they'd put the cups, what flavors they would put out for us, how many flavors they would put specifically for us, specifically to give us a chance to enjoy it. And none of us were taking advantage of that because we didn't know. We thought that this was just a room that existed and they had little sample cups and you take the sample cup and that was it. And he was just letting us get some samples. So once he said that, I took one of the souvenir cups and then someone saw that and they said, where'd you get the souvenir cup? And then it started spreading and they announced like, no, y'all take the souvenir cups, the big cups, take the to-go cups, take whatever you want, take however many of them you want. We really want you to enjoy this. And something interesting happened. I noticed elevated. What went from just a cool experience of like, oh, cool, we got to taste the stuff. Yeah, it's pretty good. And a little bit uncomfortable because there were so many people in the room. Like the volume got louder, the excitement got higher, and everyone was like trading their things and seeing what flavors each other got and comparing notes. And so then we leave that staging room and we're on our way to this corporate office where he does team meetings, and everyone's got their drinks with them, and they had other machines to do refills. It's like, y'all get a refill, then come sit down. We'll have a little presentation for you. And along the way, from that staging room to the corporate offices, they stopped us and had everybody take a picture as a photo op. And then afterwards, we get on the bus and they take a picture of us and everyone's holding up their souvenir cups. And the thing that I thought about was, what if we had missed that? What if they hadn't invited us into that experience? It would have just been like not really that memorable. It would have been one part of the tour, and we would have talked about the speech he gave. We would have talked about the jokes. We would have talked about the factory and everything else, but we wouldn't have talked about that experience at all. It just would have been one little pass through, and we almost missed it. We almost didn't do it, and we wouldn't have if they hadn't said, hey, we set this up for you. We did this for you. We want you to enjoy this. And it got me thinking, whenever we design a business, whenever you write a book, whenever you make a website, you're creating an experience for your team, for your customers, for your clients, whoever it is that you work with. And if we don't take the time to invite those people into the experience that we've created, they might miss out. And I think a part of it might be lack of confidence. Like if you don't believe that the stories that you're writing or the website that you set up or the things that you're doing are worthwhile, then if you're inviting people into it, it feels like a sale, right? It feels like you're just trying to get somebody to buy something from you. So I'll give you an example. I know a lot of authors give like a free short story as a lead generator. You get people onto your email newsletter. You use the newsletter to keep people engaged, and then you use that to help you sell more books. And if you're thinking of it through the lens of how can I sell more books, then yes, every time you talk about the free short story and the newsletter, it might feel salesy. It might feel like you were tricking somebody into doing something that they wouldn't otherwise have done. And if they just get this free short story, then you're tricking them into getting a newsletter so they can get an email later on about the book that you're actually selling. But if instead you recognize that the story and the world and the characters that you've created are worthwhile and that people actually enjoy them, then it's like you can change your mindset into recognizing that you owe it to them to invite them into the full experience that you've created. The experience of reading the short story and getting the content that you're emailing out with your newsletter and having the opportunity to buy your books, having the opportunity to know that there's a discount or a sale or a bundle or a special edition or a new release or whatever. Don't think of it as selling. Think of it as inviting someone into the experience that you've created for them so that they can experience to its fullest. And I struggle with this too, with Norris CPA and the CPA stuff that we do. Like it's easy to think, oh, we got another client or we got another sale. And it's hard to recognize that what we're doing makes a difference, that whenever we do pay attention and we do create strategy, we do save our clients like hard dollars. We save them money on taxes. When we do implement profit first and we help our clients set money aside, we help them actually become profitable and have money to pay themselves throughout the year, no matter the seasonality of their business. And so it helps me to remember the conversations I've had with clients where they've said things like, oh my goodness, this has changed everything for us. Or if I hadn't done profit first, then I don't know where my business would be. Or I'm so glad we were working with you because we saved so much in taxes. I have to remember those conversations so that whenever I'm inviting a prospect or a lead or a client into a deeper relationship or a deeper experience, I see it as I want to help you and I have the opportunity to help you here. And this is going to be a net positive for you, rather than thinking of it as, oh man, if I can just pick up another client or get some more money from this person. So if you're afraid of inviting your customers, your audience, your readers, whatever, into an experience and you're nervous about encouraging them to really, really dive deep into everything that you've created, then I would think about, do you believe in what you've created? Do you believe that if somebody reads your story, there's a value there? Every night before bed, the last thing I do is I read on my Kindle. And the only reason I read on my Kindle is because I'm on my side and it's hard to hold a paperback book whenever you're laying on your side. And it tracks your readings, like the number of days you've read for. I'm at a consecutive over 1,000 days of reading. I have not missed a day of reading on my Kindle in over 3 years. And it's because I've found the only way that I can turn my brain off at night before I fall asleep and stop thinking about work and stop thinking about emails and stop thinking about finances is to engage in a different story and to jump into a fiction novel. And so it's like the one part of my day that I get to just disconnect from everything and not think about my own world for just a minute. And that is worth so much to me. And your readers are doing the same types of thing. Maybe it's not whenever they're falling asleep. Maybe it's when they wake up in the morning. Maybe it's during their commute. Maybe it's in the afternoon or just in the weekends or sporadically. But whenever you invite them into the story, you're inviting them to just step away from the real world for just a second and experience something outside of themselves. And you know this as an author, you know that reading creates empathy, it creates deeper emotions, has all kinds of like mental health benefits and everything. But I think we all just need to remember that like our own stories and our own experiences and the things that we've built are just as worth somebody's time as other people's things that they've built. Think about it like this. Your readers could be like doom scrolling through Instagram reels. Instead, they're engaging with the characters that you've created, which is really cool. And the same thing actually goes for your team. If you have employees or contractors, you're building an experience for them too. Like the way that you communicate with them, the things that you set up, the way that they interact with your customers or your clients, that all goes into an experience, and we owe it to our team members to make sure that the experience we're building them is something worth experiencing, and that we're actually actively inviting them into that experience. Because again, people don't just automatically jump into something because they don't know what's allowed or expected. I remember I was on a plane once and I heard the flight attendant ask somebody, "Do you want anything? Or can I get you anything? Or is there anything else I can get you?" And the default answer to that is usually no. Like, what's on the table? Like, what can I ask for? Can I get a drink? Can I get food? Can I get another bag of peanuts? Or you just mean like a glass of water? Or are you just being nice? And so when you ask those types of questions, that's not inviting anyone to an experience. I remember another time a flight attendant came up and saw that my cup of coffee was low and said, "Would you like another cup of coffee?" Now I know. I know what's expected. I know what's on the table. And so that's a much easier thing to answer. So we've started thinking about that too with our business and thinking, okay, whenever we're sending an email to the client, instead of saying at the end of the explanation, "Let me know if you have any questions," or "Does that make sense?" Maybe instead what we should be saying is, "Do you want more information about this particular part? Or would you like me to do this certain thing for you?" Because then they'll know what it is that's even expected. Or like, what do we mean? Do you have any other questions? Can I just send you all the questions? So we have to guide our readers, our audience, our clients, our team through all the next steps. That's, I think, the important thing is being able to know what is the next expected step. Am I supposed to download the short story and then join the newsletter? And then what's the next step? Is there something else I'm supposed to click on? Am I expected to buy the first book in the series? Because if I am, and I like the short story, then that's exactly what I'm going to do. But if it's not clear what the next step is supposed to be, then I'm not going to take any step. And you have to trust that if you have someone who is interested in reading your stories or working with you or whatever your business is, you have to trust that if they want to work with you or engage with you, that they won't be offended by you telling them the next step. If they are offended by seeing what the next step is, they were never interested in working with you in the first place. So don't be afraid to define the road, show it to your clients, your audience, your team, your whoever it is. Let them know what's expected and what the path that you would like them to take. That takes so much load off of their shoulders that then they don't have to think about like, well, was this where I was supposed to enter the story, or was I supposed to have bought that series first? And does this come here next, or am I supposed to ask that question, or do I need to schedule a consult? People don't know. And so we have an obligation as the business owner, the author, the whatever, to explain to the client, explain to the audience what is expected, how will they best enjoy this experience so that they can get the most out of the thing that we've built for them. What do you think about this? Have you thought about your whole system as an experience that you've built, and are you actively inviting people into that? Do you have any kind of hangups like I do whenever it comes to inviting people into that experience? And was this totally distracting with the terrible quality here? I'm trying not to actually look at like myself on the camera. I'm looking at the camera so I don't see it and get distracted by it myself. But I hope this was helpful. Hopefully I'll have a much better setup next time, and I will see you next time.